Elements of Harmony and Savior of Worlds by RK Striker JK5. Chapter 14. Celestia's head swayed back and forth as she and Luna led Twilight, Megan, Molly, and Danny down the hallways of Canterlot, motioning to the ancient pictures, tapestries, and artwork built directly into the walls themselves. And this depicts Starswirl the Bearded and Spellion in their final duel before deciding broomsticks were better used for sweeping than fighting. I so want to see that fight, she said, waving a hoof at the picture of two stallions in wizard's robes, one with bells suiting to the hem of his robe and hat. Celestia shook her head. Starswirl was always a nut. Megan stepped forward and looked up at the picture. Think I remember them, she said. Spellion helped with the protection spells for the books, and Starswirl showed off his beard-growing spells on everyone. She shook her head. Yeah, nut is about right for him. Twilight's jaw dropped. Starswirl the Bearded? A nut? Her eyes twitched as everyone looked to her. She passed a nervous smile on her face. Well, okay. I never met them, but were they really that bad? Danny drugged his fingers on the armrest of his chair. He used his beard growing spell on me when we first met, he said, drumming at increasing speed. When we got back, Mom showed up at my apartment and thought I had become some sort of neo-hippie. Molly covered her mouth with one hand and clutched her stomach with the other. Oh, God! She barked out, turning red with laughter. She thought you were dropping out of college. Her legs bent as he placed a hand on against the wall for support. I mean, you! Megan grinned and shoulders heaved. Oh, right, she said, snapping her fingers. Seeing they thought you had brought you those old bills and stone apples, too. She shook her head. I was tempted to buy you a lava lamp, actually. Twilight's head canted to the side. Wait, what? Lava lamp? She glanced down. I'm guessing it's not real lava, right? Megan paused. No, Twilight, I'm not sure what's in one, but it's not lava. She went down the hallway and began walking, looking at the various images. Celestia? Luna? Is there anything for the Dream Valley ponies? She asked, turning back to the alicorns. Celestia slowly lowered her head. Megan, are you sure? It might be a bit painful for you. Megan clutched her hand and brought it to her chest. I never told him goodbye, she whispered, looking down at the floor. Please? They walked through the Canterlot Royal Gardens, past the head's maze and statues surrounding it, down a stone path to a wooded area. The trees rapidly thinned out to reveal a large memorial. A long path of cobblestones was set down, lined with trees and statues of ponies. Each statue had a fresh coat of paint on it, bringing it to vibrant life. In the center of the path was a miniature reconstruction of Paradise Estate, with a plaque mounted below it. Megan walked up to the plaque and knelt down. Paradise Estate, the first home of Equestria. She looked back over her shoulder at the group, eyes brimming with fierce tears. She barely moved as Celestia and Luna walked up, sat down next to her. Danny rolled up to a statue of a Pegasus with a groovy grin on her face, wings spread out in welcome, and 3 balloons for a cutie mark. Hey, surprise, he said, clearing his throat. Sorry I missed your last party. He reached out and stroked her muzzle. I hope it was a good one. Molly approached the statue of Heartthrob. She blinked and hugged herself. I didn't say anything when I learned how long it really was, she mumbled. I'm sorry, Heartthrob. I put all my time on Dream Valley out of my mind. But now? Tress tears fell from her eyes. Now I'm sorry I did. Twilight walked up to a statue of the original Twilight and dipped her head in respect. I've heard of you, she said. I know you're my ancestor a long ways down the line. Mom's told me all about you, too. She said to her host a bit. I guess, thanks for all you did for Ponyland, for Dream Valley, and for Equestria itself. She looked back up. And I really like your mane, too. Megan reached out and brushed the plaque a bit, removing some dust. She glanced over as Celestia and Luna leaned up for a hug. Ha, she said, the ghost of a smile crossing her lips as he wrapped one arm around Celestia's neck and the other around Luna's in a hug. Thanks. Celestia leaned back, tossing her head about a bit. Why? She asked, puzzlement clear in her voice and on face. Megan shook her head. Thanks for being here. We're taking such great care of Ponyland. And for being you. She squeezed him once more in a hug, before letting her arms slide back down. Megan sat there in front of the model for another few minutes, before rising to her feet. She turned and walked around, stopping in front of a statue of a Pegasus with a light mane and several whistles for a cutie mark. Wind Whistler, my old friend. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry I never said goodbye. She spread her arms out. What you built here with your 4 hooves. It's greater than I ever dreamed of. I just wish. She stopped and swallowed, fresh tears falling from her eyes. It was another minute before Megan found her voice again. By now, Molly and Danny were by her side, holding her arms. I wish I could tell you to your face. She wiped her eyes and shuddered as Celestia, Luna, and Twilight also stood by her. She looked at everyone and forced a smile. Sorry about this, she murmured. Molly tightened her grip and smiled even as her eyes grew moist. Hey, no problem. Times like this, we all get a little weepy. She pointed down to her wet cheeks. See? Megan chuckled slightly. She looked to Celestia. How long before we have to go back? We can stay as long as you want, Megan. Celestia responded. She looked at Danny and Molly. As long as all of you want. Megan nodded. Thanks. But I think it's best to get back to the party sooner or later. She smiled, this time the expression reaching her eyes. Mr. and Mrs. Cake went to all that trouble after all. And I don't want to see it go to waste. Celestia snored, nostrils flaring. I saw their work while raising the sun and guiding it on my way this morning. There should be enough leftovers for about a week, but you're right. She turned her head and glanced back up. Perhaps it would be good to go back there soon and see everyone else. A sneaky smile crossed her lips. But there's one more place I'd like to show you three, if it's all right. She looked to Luna. The vault? Luna nodded. Excellent idea, sister. She noted the confusion on her friends' faces. It's what you left behind for all of us. For all pony kind. Your books, your charts, diagrams, and guides. We've built Equestria using them as a foundation. She motioned down the path and turned, cantering off. You'll love it! The group eventually emerged into an open-air courtyard, the sun shining down on ponies and other beings as they went about their day. A large fountain dominated the center, water shooting in the air and from various statues around. Megan walked up to the fountain, placing a hand on one of the statues. It had the head of a pony and the body of an aquatic creature, and held a pot under one of its fins, with water spewing from it. A sea pony? She asked. She looked up at the others walked up. Celestia, the sea ponies are still around? Celestia nodded as he trotted up, smiling. They stick mostly to underwater cities and the coastlines, but there's a group living at the foot of Mount Incravopolis from here, alongside the Crabnasties. She looked up to the side. Perhaps you'd like to visit them on your next visit? Molly paled slightly. I'm not so sure, Celestia. Never was too comfortable underwater. She looked around as the others in the courtyard shied away, backing up against the walls or simply tried it out. Is it my imagination, or are the others around here a bit scarce around us? Luna's male attain flashed, changing from hair to a translucent flowing field of energy. Her eyes glowed as she tried around, hooves striking the pavement and cracking it. She held the foreleg up and swept it across the air as she spoke, the very air vibrating. Halt! Citizens of Canterlot! She bellowed. Why do thou flee from our friends and companions, instead of coming forth to celebrate them? She tapped a hoof at a particularly large unicorn stallion. Prince Blueblood, come forth and make thy case! Blueblood skidded forth. He looked around before focusing on Luna. The stallion swallowed before speaking.
Aunt Luna, it's a pleasure to see you once more.
He trailed off and looked at Megan. He looked back to Luna as he glared up, I. Luna scraped a hoof across the pavement, leaving a rather deep trough.
Foolish nephew!
He bellowed, setting his mane to nearly horizontal.
Thou hast been asked a question by thy royal aunt, and thou willest respond, or else...
Danny suddenly rolled around, placing himself between Luna and Blueblood.
Whoa,
he exclaimed, placing his hands up. Luna, what's got into you? I know you liked a bit of drama in the old days, but good to God, speak! Luna cleared her throat. My apologies, Danny. I was using the traditional Canterlot speaking voice. Danny nodded. Yeah, but we're not projecting from the top of a balcony. He lifted his head around to look up at Blueblood. A pal, we're not going to bite. We're simply old friends of Luna and Celestia, here to visit. Glanced over to Megan and Molly, right? Megan walked forward, Molly trailing behind. She hopped up to the lip of the fountain and looked around. My name is Megan Richards, she announced, placing one hand on her chest and waving at her siblings with the other. This is my brother Danny and my sister Molly. She moved her arm around to Luna and Celestia. We are old friends of Celestia and Luna from the past. She hopped down off the fountain and approached Blueblood. Bruce Blueblood, it's an honor to meet you. Blueblood looked Megan up and down, eyes widening.
Old friends?
He asked. At her nod, he took a step back.
From the past? As in the very past? As in...
He trailed off, spread his hooves out.
As in the Magne?
Megan blinked. She opened her mouth, but paused and leaned in before speaking. The what? She looked at Celestia and Luna, who both suddenly pasted grins onto their faces and began swaying. Celestia, Luna, what's he talking about? She looked back to Blueblood. No, not the Magne, but Megan. Molly's eye quirked as she observed her sister and Stallion. She turned and stepped back around the fountain to Celestia's side. Fairy tale, what is the Magne? She asked, expressing darkening. Celestia dipped her head aside. The answers to that are in the vault, but the quick and dirty answer, they will raise more questions to answer. She waved a wing at Megan, who by now was surrounded by half a dozen ponies, 3 zebras, and a giraffe. She is the Magne, the giver of gifts, defender of the stable, and a bunch of other titles that don't make a salt lick of sense. She looked back as Blueblood stepped back. He dipped his head at something Megan said. How does she do that? Molly's head shot back and forth between Celestia and Megan. Wait, are you telling me Megan's become some sort of theme park version of herself? She looked at Twilight, standing there with a mortified expression on her face. Do you know about this? Twilight sighed and nodded. The Magne is an old tale, told by mother to foal. I never put much stock into it until Princess Celestia took me to the vault and showed me everything there, including a rather large mural of Megan, and with the events of the past few days, she trailed out shrugging. Celestia nodded. Over the past 15 centuries, Megan's exploits and feats were exaggerated. We lost some of the earliest records, too. Stuff from even before Luna and I were born, she said, eyeing Molly. Starswirl and Spellion both told the Senate to let Megan's true role fade into myth and legend. Wind Whistler agreed with them, so Luna and I followed along. Molly blinked. But why? What reason did they give for creating this obscure legend? Her gaze started to declare, why did you and Luna go with it? She crossed her arms over her chest and tapped her foot. Celestia groaned. Molly, some of it was inevitable with the passing of time. She fixed a playful smile on her face. Especially considering what you told me of earlier heroes from your own country. Or did George Lincoln, Washington, really throw a silver dollar across that river you mentioned? And that was only 200 years ago. Molly nodded. Okay, well, that's a good point. But why didn't you correct any of this? Well, Starswirl and Spellion. Are you sure about this? Wind Whistler asked, leaning over the table and peering through her glasses at the 2 road ponies standing before the equestrian senate. Starswirl the bearded nodded, bells hanging off his hat and robes dangling.
Crystal, Wind Whistler, visions that we have shown Megan must fade into history as a lesson for the future. Remember the final prophecies of the Moonchick you, Celestia, and Luna recorded before he vanished. Eternal feats.
Spellion, standing beside Starswirl, nodded.
Equestria will need her to lead when the first becomes the last, my friend. The Magne can do that, And, with the passage of time, some exaggeration will prove inevitable anyway. The listener looked at the pair of alicorns standing at the far end of the table.
Celestia and Luna, do you actually consider this plan of theirs?
Celestia shared a glance with Luna before looking to Star Swirl's spirited Spellion.
Are you sure?
She asked. At her nod, she groaned.
I suppose I could go along with it. Luna?
Luna shook her head, sending her mane swishing about. It doesn't seem fair! All the pony kinds should bow before the real Megan, not some made-up virgin in Latin! Star Swirl spoke up. They will, actually. But for right now, they must fade into the mist of history. He looked around, focusing on every pony there. As we must all, one day.
Molly grumbled.
If those two agreed on this mining business, then they must have known something was up. She looked at Megan as she hugged the blushing Blue Blood.
I'm not so certain he's going to take this dead case and whale.
Twilight spoke up.
Well, it's not so much that, Molly. More an exaggeration than anything. What I read in Megan's novels indicates she's a lot like the Magne. Thus, her exploits were a bit stretched out. An old mare's tales would be a good description.
Celestia nodded, smiling.
Excellent way to put it, Twilight. Even so, she's still deserving of the praise.
She watched forward, Molly and Twilight following. Those gathered around Megan, Molly, and Danny bowed as he approached.
I am glad to see you all getting along,
Celestia said, smiling. She focused on Blue Blood.
Tell me, my nephew, what words of wisdom has my oldest friend taught you?
Blue Blood rose to his hooves. Auntie Celestia! He waved a forehoof at Megan. We have just been having a fascinating conversation with Megan here. She's from another world, apparently, but she's not the Magne. He stepped forward and leaned in close to Celestia. Is she, Auntie?
Celestia chuckled and dipped her head. You'll know soon enough, Blue Blood.
She looked up at Megan.
Ready to go?
Megan nodded in return. She waved at the others as Celestia walked forward, parting the crowd. The group moved forward through the streets of Canterlot, eventually coming upon Canterlot's School for Gifted Unicorns. Danny looked up at the stairs, then a rather steep ramp. He cracked his knuckles and gripped the wheels, but paused as Luna stepped up behind him. Luna? Luna walked forward. Her horn glowed. Long poles connected to the harness suddenly popped into existence. Lances on the poles connected to the armrests, while the harness settled around Luna's neck. Hold on, she said, grinning. Danny's mouth opened for a second before he spoke. Luna, you don't have to pull me if you don't want to. Luna bobbed her head slightly. I want to. She turned and walked up to the ramp, towing Danny behind her. Celestia, Twilight, Molly, and Megan walked up the steps to the door. Celestia led them through the first floor into the back, to a steel door that slid open as they approached. She looked to Luna, who had discarded the harness and poles.
I think Danny might be needing a bit more help, Luna.
Luna nodded. Her horn glowed, and Danny's wheelchair rose 6 inches off the ground. She looked to him and waved a wing. Don't worry. You'll have a full traction just like on the ground. It'll just be easier negotiating the stairs this way. Danny tossed her a salute as they all began going down the stairs, leaving the modern building behind and descending into the ancient hallways. Megan looked up around as the torches as they flickered.
Wild torches and not electric lights.
She pointed up the ceiling.
Isn't all Canterlot on an electric grid?
Celestia nodded to her as they approached the end of the hallway.
The torches were already here, self-lighting from the spells that the mages of the rock cast on them. I'm all for modernization, but torches work already, and there's too many other things to handle.
She paused as they reached the door, and 3 guards pointed standing out there.
The future,
she said, smiling to him. Megan looked at Twilight.
Been here before?
She asked, smirking slightly. Twilight smirked back.
It was one of my first true lessons from the princess.
She grinned as they entered the vault.
I still can't believe how much stuff you brought over.
Molly's mouth opened and shocked as she entered.
Did we bring all this here?
She held up a hand and waved it at the shelves, groaning with books. She walked up to a shelf and reached for a book, but hesitated before grabbing it.
Celestia, may I?
At her nod, she picked it up and leafed through it.
Hi! I remember this one, she shouted, holding it up. This is the book on rockets I found at some book fair.
Celestia walked through the vault, looking about.
Not all of these are what you 3 brought us. There's also expanses on the original text, newly written material, and books and scrolls from all across Equestria.
She stopped next to Megan, who was staring open-mouthed at the mural before her. She leaned in close.
Look familiar? Megan barked to laugh. Celestia, Blue Blood mentioned Magne. He and the others hailed it in some sort of reverence. Now, I'm not stupid, and I think Magne can be written as Megan. She turned around and planted her hands on her hips, casting a withering glare at Celestia. What gas, young lady? Celestia swallowed as sweat formed on her brow. Her eyes sighed back and forth, but she finally sighed. Your deeds and exploits grew with each passing year, told from mother to foal. She stepped back and wings flared out. The fault suddenly brightened. You are known as the Magne, giver of gifts, defender of the stable. With those of Paradise Estate, you founded Equestria, making the land safe and ushering in a golden age of peace and prosperity. Wings folded back. And you did, you know. Megan's eyes widened. Wait, are you telling me I'm some kind of Pony Moses or George Washington? She shook her head. Why didn't you Luna correct this? Let's see, written. I was indisposed for a while. Her head dipped and eyes wide. Please, not here. Silence reigned for a moment before Danny wheeled up to her, patted her torso right on the wings. All right, we'll wait until you're ready. He looked at Celestia. But what about you? Molly cleared her throat, getting everyone's attention. Ahem. Apparently Starswell and Smellion agreed to let us feed the legend. She suddenly stopped. Wait. Are Danny and I remembered? Twilight spoke up. You are known as Danielle and Molly. You're not as well known as the Magne, no. She paused and swallowed. Sorry. Megan looked to Molly. Starswell and Spellion? They agreed on this? She looked back to Muriel. I guess, but it's so odd. I wasn't anyone special. None of us were. We were simply trying to help our friends when they needed it. Celestia shook her head. No, Megan. With your help, she then shouted to four-legged Danny and Molly. With all your help, we founded Equestria. Your exploits may have been exaggerated, but the core of the truth is still there. Dream Valley would still be better named as Nightmare Canyon. Hell, Luna and I would not even be alive. She stepped forward and leaned close to Megan. You are a hero, and you're our friend. Megan went down to the floor, breathed in and out before wrapping a single arm around Celestia's neck for a brief hug. You're a silly pony, you know that? She whispered. Celestia bit her lip, but a single giggle escaped her. Yes, I'm a silly pony. Do you wish to go to the party now? Yeah. She turned around and stepped forward. Molly, Twilight, Luna all walked forward while Danny rolled up. Ready to go? She asked, and their nods. She looked to Celestia and walked up. Thank you for the tour, Celestia. Now I think I'm ready for that party. Celestia tipped her head. As you wish, my friend. Chapter 15. Danielle lived along. The pain in her body lessened, but still there. She, Michelle, and the cutie marker stairs moved through the whitetail wood. Scootaloo using her skirter and wagon to tow the kite. Danielle walked up to a tree with a spigot and screwed into it, a bucket hanging from it. She looked it over. Is it spring? She asked, looking to the fillies. Everfree, Scootaloo, and Sweetbelle all exchanged glances. No, why? Everfree asked, cocking an eyebrow. Michelle spoke up as she stood in front of another tree. Well, doesn't sap only run in the spring? Everfree snorted and laughed. What? Why'd sap only run in the spring? She looked at Sweetbelle and Scootaloo, who only shrugged. If it only rained in the spring, we wouldn't have good tasting maple syrup all year round. She walked up to a spigot and tapped a screw with her hoof. Maybe we can all try for our sap-collected cutie marks game. Scootaloo groaned as she hopped off her scooter and approached the tree. Who wants a sap-collected cutie mark? She slammed her hoof onto a spigot, bending it at the spike. Her wings buzzed, setting her a few inches off the ground. Oh, come on! Danielle walked over to Scootaloo, pulling out a notebook and pencil. Do cutie marks have a set time to appear? She asked, beginning to write. Do you have to get them while you're young, or can adults who don't have one get them too? What defines special talent? Does he lock into something? Is it always good? The Crusaders all looked to Danielle, then to each other. Sweetbelle spoke up. It's our special talent, but it's not everything about us. Rarity's cutie mark is 3 gemstones, but she's not a miner. It's about beauty for her. She thrust the hoof into the air. And one of these days, I'll be just as good as she is at designing. Scootaloo snored. If your designing was half as good as your singing, we might have won the talent show. She turned back to the spigot and growled, kicking at the tree trunk. Come on and pour! Apple Bloom tried over to Scootaloo, placing a hoof on her shoulder and spinning around. I think you mean your awful songs were what lost us the contest. She tapped the four-legged sleep bell. Now apologize, Scootaloo! Scootaloo tried to Apple Bloom's hoof off and leaned forward. Only if you apologize for those late dance moves based off karate, or whatever it is you're learning. Apple Bloom snarled and butted heads with Scootaloo. Lame? Sensei Iron Butterfly is one of the strongest earth ponies I know. He's almost as strong as Applejack or Bing Macintosh. She tapped her hoof at Scootaloo's chest. You want me to show you how lame my tiny Typhon she is? Michelle spoke up. Well, she cocked her head to the side. What? Apple Bloom looked to her. Way at the intersected hoof and ponies. She then leaned forward once more, Scootaloo, baring her teeth. Sleep Bell suddenly appeared between them, thrusting forelegs out. Hey, it's not funny. How are we going to get our key marks if we keep on getting on each other's nerves? Michelle walked over to Danielle and leaned in close as the Crusaders began arguing back and forth. Think we should do something? She asked. I kind of don't want to have to explain to anyone how the other got crippled or killed. Danielle opened her mouth and raised a hand, but stopped as Scootaloo shoved Apple Bloom. Okay, now let's stop them. She ran to the fillies, sliding her notebook into a backpack. Okay, girls, let's stop this before someone gets hurt. She and Michelle stepped around the fillies, holding out arms and pushing them away. Stronger than that! Do it! Scootaloo backed up, rearing back on the already bit spigot. The eternal tap snapped off, and sap spewed from the hollow spike, covering Scootaloo. She stumbled forward, one foreleg wrapping around Danielle's leg, and the other grabbing Sleep Bell by the neck. Whoa! She screamed as both appendages became stuck to Danielle and Sleep Bell, dragging the pair with her. Danielle was knocked to her knees and tumbled to the side. Scootaloo's Sleep Bell wrapped around her legs. The tree sap squirted once more before dying down to a trickle, covering Danielle's back as he fell to the ground. She groaned as her injured back flared once more with new pain. Arrgh! Michelle moved forward to Danielle and knelt down, considering her face. You alright? She pulled out her cell phone and flipped it on. Still no signal. Danielle groaned again as Scootaloo's Sleep Bell laid across their legs, both covered in tree sap. Her head rose, leaves of dirt sticking to her hair. Yeah, I don't think we could count on Dad coming to our rescue, Michelle. She looked at Scootaloo, was pulling her hind legs in a failed attempt to unstick them from Danielle's pants. So, now what? Lie here contemplating the meaning of life, the universe, and everything? Apple Bloom suddenly appeared, posting a large metal basin of water with her hose. She grabbed a sponge floating in the water with her teeth, and began scrubbing Scootaloo's legs. She looked up to Michelle and jabbed her head in the basin's direction. After a few seconds, Michelle reached in the tub and pulled out another spub, dabbing over Sleep Bell. Danielle blinked. So be concerned or relieved you brought a wash basin with you? Apple Bloom spat the sponge in the basin and stuck her tongue out. Blech! She looked at Danielle. We get into all sorts of trouble when crusading. She stopped aside. Oh, and covering the tree sap, too. Sleep Bell pulled away from Danielle, grunting back and rolling her head on her hose. She landed back and shook her head. Even when you're doing something like... Scootaloo and Apple Bloom were suddenly by her side. All three fillies threw their heads back. Getting my crusading librarians! Yay! Michelle held her hand out, and helped Danielle to her feet. She looked to the Crusaders. I think it'd be best if we got back to the library. It's getting late, and I want to make sure Danielle doesn't die out here. Danielle grunted and leaned back, cracking her back. She rotated her shoulders as a voice. Yeah, that'd be nice. Scootaloo walked over to her scooter, placed her helmet on her head, and hopped on. Her tiny wings buzzed, and she dove over to Danielle. Danielle, I'm sorry you got banged up. She motioned to the wagon behind her and got inside. Apple Bloom, Sleep Bell, is it all right if she rides inside on the way back? Apple Bloom and Sleep Bell exchanged a simple glance before Apple Bloom reached in with her forelegs, wrapped around the kite, and began pulling it out. After a few seconds of struggling, Michelle reached over and helped her extract the kite. Danielle walked over and gently climbed in, groaning as she settled to the wagon. Thanks, she said. She looked at Scootaloo. You sure you'll be able to pull me? Scootaloo smirked and hunkered down on her handles. Watch me! She said as her wings buzzed once more, sending the scooter, wagon, and Danielle lurching forward. Time to burn rubber! She shouted as they careened through Whitetail Wood. Michelle, Sweetie Belle, and Apple Bloom stood there for a few minutes as the wagon shot off. Michelle shook her head, then looked at Sweetie Belle. She pulled out her hairbrush and held it up. You think maybe a cutie mark and hairbrushing would be best?
That's it. Michelle, you are becoming a stylist when you grow up.
Applejack looked up from her plate of food as Fluttershy floated over, landed next to her.
Nice to see you make it, she said, nuzzling a plate with her nose. Plenty of grub left for you, Fluttershy.
Fluttershy smiled as he set a case of apple juice on the table.
Thank you, Applejack. I bought a case of apple juice from Caramel for the party, but it looks like it wasn't needed.
She looked around at tables of food.
Oh, my. How did the cakes make all this food?
Applejack snorted.
2 days shut in with Pinkie Pie will do that to you.
She looked around. Speaking of which, where's Pinkie Pie and Dash? Fluttershy hopped up and hovered, twisting around.
Oh, they're talking to those 2 earth ponies with the cute hats.
She landed once more, then looked around at several unfamiliar ponies.
Applejack, if you don't mind me asking, why are these other ponies here?
Applejack set her plate down and swallowed before speaking.
Ah, they're the princess ponies. Old friends of the princesses or some such like that. I don't know.
She took another bite and noticed Fluttershy's expression.
Twilight, Megan, and her siblings all flew up to Canterlot to meet with Celestia and Luna, and her husband and the Phillies went off to Ponyville for some sightseeing.
Fluttershy grinned.
Oh, yes. I met him when I brought juice from your stand. He was helping Big Megatas fix a wheel on your stand.
She looked at her host.
Those hands he has are very useful. If I had them, think of how much more I could do to help all the animals.
Applejack's mouth turned up. Are you doing it? At Fluttershy's nod, she grinned even wider.
Well, shucks! Forget about half off! He gets it all for free!
Fluttershy smiled. But anything she might have said was interrupted by a Rarity arriving.
Oh, my!
Oh, my,
she said.
Rarity, what a lovely dress.
She looked around the simmering ensemble over.
How many gemstones did you use?
Rarity tried it up, her body clad in a blue dress with alternate stripes of rubies and sapphires running across. She wore a tiara just in front of her horn, a simple gold stranded necklace and earrings with small diamonds in them. She walked up to Applejack and Fluttershy, tail sashaying a bit.
Oh, what do you think?
She asked, turning around so the gems caught the sunlight just so.
I figured for the king of the dragon clans, gems are a mare's best friend.
Applejack and Fluttershy both winced as the light hit them in the eyes, dazzling them.
Quit!
Applejack said, backing up and shaking her head.
Land's sakes, Rarity! I don't need to go blind or yet get glasses!
Rarity stepped closer, into the library shell.
Sorry, Applejack. I just got so caught up in designing and making this one. I took lots of chances, but in the end, it's worth it.
She looked around, first at the tables of food.
My, I hope Mr. and Mrs. Cake are well compensated for such a gorgeous spread.
She wiped her mouth with a foreleg.
I just famished looking at it.
2 plates of food and a bowl of salad floated over to her.
I simply don't know where to begin.
Applejack chuckled.
Well, be careful, Rarity. We don't want you to busting out of your dress.
She looked up. Although, considering what you're wearing, might be lethal if you didn't do. Rarity chuckled, but it died down as he spied the princess ponies.
I just say, who are these others? Friends of the princesses?
Her eyes hit upon their hats, and her already pale cloak somehow managed to blind us even more. She leaned in close to Applejack.
And what in the name of the herd are they wearing on their heads? It looks like a bad pony hat!
Just then, Rainbow Dash's head whipped around, looking at Rarity.
Oh, there she is!
She hopped up and flew over, landing next to Rarity. A pure white Pegasus followed, landing next to her. Rarity, this is Princess Tiffany, one of the princess ponies. She leaned in close to the unicorn. What she's a princess of, I'm not quite sure. He won't say. She hovered over and motioned at Tiffany with her forelegs.
But Tiffany knew the original Firefly for Dream Valley, the one who did the first Sonic Rain Boom.
She held her forelegs to her face and squeezed them.
It's so awesome!
She squealed. Rarity chuckled a bit, looking at Tiffany.
The princess ponies. The princess ponies?
She looked herself over.
Oh my. I had no idea more royalty would be here!
She twisted about, the gems in her dress casting light.
Oh my! Am I properly dressed? Is this dress enough for the ponies and dragons and such personage?
She wrapped her forelegs around Dessa's neck and shook.
Is it? I need to know!
Dessa's eyes rolled around her head as he flew back, outside Rarity's grasp.
Relax, Rarity!
She motioned to the other princess ponies as they approached.
They're all pretty cool, and they're only wearing their royal office hats or something. She touched back onto the ground. And either way, stay in the shade or inside when you're wearing that thing. Rarity blushed slightly. I suppose I overdid it a bit. So sorry. She went to one knee in front of Tiffany. An honor to meet you, my dear. Tiffany giggled. Likewise. She craned her neck around. I do hope Mike and his children show up soon, as well as Celestia, Luna, and the others. She looked up to the sun, past midday and beginning its descent. Where could they be? Mike patted Magatos on his back as they approached the library.
Come on, you'll see. She'll love a guy like him.
Magatos hesitated, digging his hooves on the ground. I don't know, he said. He spied the ugly Pegasus as he chatted with Applejack and seemed to shrink into himself. So pretty. What's a colt like myself got to offer a filly like her? Mauling career, element of kindness, best darn animal worker in Equestria, and I'm just a darn farmhoof. Mike crossed his arms and shook his head. No, you're not. You're smarter than you seem. Don't mince words. You've also got a big heart and some pretty deep thoughts. He wrapped his arms around Magatos' neck and pointed to Fluttershy. Go for it, Mike. Go to her and tell your feelings. Magatos' furrowed, but an orange word racing to him and Mike from the side caught his attention. Scootaloo, he said as the Pegasus raced up on her scooter, Megan and Daniel in tow. He stepped back and whinnied. What happened? Mike's jaw sobbed as he saw his daughter, clothes torn and tree saps sticking to them, branches of leaves in her hair, and smudges on her face. What the? He ran out to the wagon, dropped to his knees. Danielle, are you all right? What happened? He stood up and over at Scootaloo. What did you do to my daughter? Scootaloo swallowed, and her head bobbed. Hi, Mike. Mike growled, don't you hi-mark me. What happened? A demolition derby? Danielle swung her legs around, over the side of the wagon, and planted her feet on the ground. She groaned as she levered herself up and out. Dad! She stepped around holding her hands. It's all right, Dad. See? She waved her arms over herself. No broken bones, internal bleeding, or amputated limbs. She paused and cracked her neck. That we know of. Michelle, Apple Bloom and Swinging Bell ran up. Mike, we're sorry! Apple Bloom spit it out. She looked over at Magatos. Hi, Magatos. What you doing? Magatos waved a hoof fire. Howdy, Apple Bloom. Crusade go well? Mike cleared his throat. All right, just what happened out there? What didn't you call? He looked at Daniel, who looked away. Let me guess. No bars. Daniel sighed. Oh, no bars. She mumbled. She looked up back at Mike. Well, we went to their clubhouse, which is actually like the one you built for us. Then we went kite flying, but the kite got tangled in a tree, and I climbed up the gate. Appleboat spoke up. But, so failed, it got tangled in the cord, so I had Scootaloo climb up and chop her down with a machete onto a trampoline beneath. She paused. Would have been fine, but Scootaloo fell and bounced into her, knocking her into the ground. Mike's face paled. Oh, a machete? He focused on Scootaloo and held up a hand. You swung a machete around my daughter to cut her down? Good Lord, what were you thinking? He glared up at Apple Bloom. What made you even think that was a good idea? Daniel spoke up. It wasn't swung at me, but the cord tied me up, Dad. It was either that or let me hang. She placed her hands on her hips. And trust me, they both got plenty chewed out by me after I got cut down. Mike groaned and rubbed his forehead. Oh, then what happened? Apple Bloom swallowed before continuing. Well, at Wildtail Wood, we were collecting tree sap to try for our tree sap collected cueing mark again. One of the speakers broke in. Scootaloo was knocked into Danielle's sleigh bell. Sleigh bell nodded. It was sticky. Also, tree sap only runs in spring on Earth. What about maple syrup for pancakes? Mike focused sleigh bell. The story, as well as used preservatives for later use. And how did we get off track? He rubbed his forehead. Megan's going to kill me. Danielle shook her head. Oh, come on, Dad. This isn't any worse than when Michelle and I climbed trees out in the fields, or went fishing, or anything like that. So look out, both dirty and bruised. I'll have fun. She looked back at Apple Bloom, Sweet Bell Scootaloo. And I made some really cool friends. She looked back at Mike. So you're going to be angry at me. Magatos spoke up. Oh, Mark, there ain't no harm will happen. Just some kids fooling around being kids. No one's hurt and they all have fun. So what's the big worry? Mike looked at him. Then to Daniel. He held his arms and wrapped her in a hug. Well, as long as you're all right. Daniel snaked her arms around Mike and returned the hug. Thanks, Dad. They both let go as he looked over to the library. Wow,
Looks like there's more ponies here. She winced as the light reflected off one dress. What is she wearing? She said, holding her hands up to cover her eyes. Sweetie Belle bounced up and ran down. Oh, that's Fairy! See, her eyes widened. That dress is incredible! She turned to Canterlot, shouting, Fairy! The while. McIntosh chuckled, then looked at Mike with a serious expression.
Mike, you're right. I might have something to offer Fluttershy. I'm already nervous about leaving Caramel at the stand. His heart's in the right place, but it'd take a miracle for him not to put his hoof on that rake in the field, if you know what I mean.
Mike sighed. Yeah.
He's a bit scatterbrained.
He held his hand and dropped it. Gotta stop doing that, he said, tossed McIntosh a salute as he turned and left.
Nice guy.
He looked at everyone else. So, the pirate? Apple bloomed furrow, and then looked up aghast. Oh, shucks! I got graduated D5 sleep class in the air. Sensei Iron Butterfly wants me to be in the advanced classes soon. Let me guess. He does love singing about In the God of the Vita, doesn't he? She waved her hoof at everyone before turning and trotting off in the direction of Sweet Apple Acres. Daniel looked at Skulu. Well, will I come along as my official guest? Skulu's mouth opened in a round large grin. Do I? She jumped up, wrapped her forelegs around Daniel and hugged. Thank you! She let go and landed, galloping off to the library. Rarity laughed. Oh, what a delightful joke, she said to Tiffany, keeping her eyes down and away from her head, mane, and hat. She took a sip of juice and a bit of a daisy sandwich before continuing. Just as I was telling my client, Hoity-Toity of Canterlot the other day, a man must be... Sweet Belle suddenly ran up, dancing around Rarity. Sis! She cried out. She stopped to look Rarity over. Oh, that dress is so lovely, she said, eyes sparkling. A smile crept up across Rarity's face. She patted Sweet Belle on the head. That's very kind of you to say, dear. Thank you. She looked at Tiffany. Princess Tiffany, this is my sister Sweetie Belle. Sweetie Belle, this is Princess Tiffany of the Princess Ponies. Tiffany bowed her head and chuckled. What a delightful young filly. She held her hoof. Sweetie Belle, I am pleased to meet you. Sweetie Belle touched Tiffany's hoof. Thanks. I really like your mane. She cocked her head to the side. Wait, you're a princess? A princess of what? Rarity swallowed, and a stream of sweat crossed her brow. She leaned down and leaned close to Sweetie Belle. We're not sure, but they know Princess Luna and Celestia, so we're taking it at face value for the moment. She stood back up and laughed softly at Tiffany. Kids. Off to the side, Applejack tipped her forward as Mike walked up. Mac, Fluttershy told me what you did for our cart at the marketplace. Must appreciate it, good sir. She spread her forelegs. Next time you're here, it's on the house. Mike waved at Fluttershy and winked back. Thanks, but it wasn't much. Just a quick patch job. Walked around to Fluttershy. Big Mike did the hard work, keeping the cart steady. Yeah, a steady kind of guy. He rubbed his chin. Yeah, definitely a nice guy. What do you think, Fluttershy? Fluttershy's cheeks turned a bright crimson. She let out a eep before her wings spread and she flew off to the far side of the party. Mike watched as she flew off and smacked his forehead, dinking his hand down his face. Oh, screwed up, he flatly stated. Applejack chuckled and shook her head. Oh, don't worry, no, Mac. I don't think Mac and Shy would make a good match, too. Celestia knows I tried to get those two crazy kids together, but he doesn't think he's good enough for her, as he's too sad to approach the subject. She rolled her eyes. It's not right, I tell you. Mike sighed. Remind me to tell you about how I first met Megan. He looked up to the speck in the sky and caught his attention. Say, is that a Pegasus with a packet strapped to her? His eyes narrowed. Her? Yeah, her. The speck quickly resulted to Ditsy Do. It flew in over the library. A small wooden crate dangled from her harness, swaying a bit. She tugged on the strap and the harness released, dropping it to the ground with a mild thud. She landed on top of it and looked around the party. Hi, she said, waving weakly. Delivery for the Ponyville. Should I leave? Spike ran out of the library. Oh, Ditsy! Is this for Huffington? Ditsy spread her wings and hopped down. She fished her clipboard out of the saddlebags and held it out for Spike. She took the pen and the documents. From Modesty Marion Huffington. He waved Ditsy off. Don't worry, I'll take care of this. He leaned in close to her. It'll keep me away from Piggy Pie, too. A pink blur suddenly appeared between Spike and Ditsy, wrapping her forelegs around the two and pointing for a hug. Oh, a packet! She exclaimed. She let go and hopped over, twisting her neck all around as she stared at the crate.
She hopped off on top of it and stamped it with her hoods.
A good surprise? A bad surprise? A weird surprise? Let's see!
Spike groaned. Weird's a good word for it. He looked the paperwork over. I think Twilight and I can have the next order for Modesty ready by Wednesday, but with the Gallop, probably, it might be a bit tight. He looked at Dizzy. So, what's he like anyway? We've never met before. Dizzy paused, her right eye wandering a bit.
He's nice.
Trixie looked up at Dizzy, strapped herself to the crate.
You don't have to do this for me,
she said. Dizzy looked down.
And you don't have to let me stay tonight, or help out with your magic show at the inn,
she grinned wildly.
That was fun, by the way.
Trixie shrugged.
It's been getting a lot better without lying or humiliating others.
She held out a foreleg, and the top hat appeared in a puff of smoke.
Leaves more room for theatrics in actually good performances.
She placed the hat on her head over her horn.
Thanks, Ditsy. I'll pay you back. Somehow.
Ditsy smirked.
Come down to Ponyville and meet Dinky and Sparkler for a day. How's that?
Trixie's eyes widened.
Ditsy, I'd be run out of town after the Ursa Minor in my wagon in that performance.
She trailed off, looked down, her eyes watering.
I don't deserve to go back.
Dizzy paused before shrugging off her harness and hopping down. She placed a hoof on Trixie's shoulder.
Trixie, if it makes any difference, I forgive you. And Ponyvillians are pretty awesome.
She cleared her throat and spread her wings, flapping them and floating back up. With a minute, she had the harness secured once more.
You'll see!
And with that, she slowly lifted the crate to the air and flew off. Spike shrugged.
That's it?
At Dizzy's nod, he sighed and grabbed the straps, taking into the crate out to the side.
Help yourself to the food,
he said, leaving it at the table still laden with food. As Dizzy tried it off and grabbed the plate, two more specks appeared, darting away from Canterlot. They quickly resolved into two chariots, approaching at high speed. The first one carried Celestia and Luna, while the second one had Twilight, Megan, Danny, and Molly. Everyone around the library backed up as they touched down. The five disembarked from the chariots, Celestia pausing at the Pegasi, who lowered hers.
Excellent. Smooth ride, Sergeant,
she said. She looked back at the chariot Twilight, Megan, Danny, Molly rode in.
An excellent fight from you as well.
She looked back to the Blessing Pegasus. Take the rest of the afternoon off, Cracker Roll. Pay with pay, mind you. Cracker Roll dipped his head. Thank you, Your Majesty, he said. He whinnied, and the two chariots took off into the air once more, before angling off for Canterlot. Luna raised a hoof. Citizens of Ponyville, she shouted, we have come to greet you and to show you our... She looked around and leaned in close to Celestia.
Where's every pony else?
I thought there'd be a bigger crowd. Celestia shook her head.
I sent a message to Mayor right before we left, 5 minutes ago. We went with the director at this time.
Starburst rolled her eyes.
You always were a drama king, Luna. She looked at Danny. Remember when you showed us that moving picture of the Princess Bride?
She looked up and held a hoof and swung it around.
I am the Dwight Private Prune, she said, voice pitching up. I shall save Buttercup from Humperdinck.
Luna's cheeks shone purple as she held up a wing over her face.
Starburst! She screeched. It's not funny!
Danny rolled up and shook his head, a solemn expression on his face.
No, it's not.
He reached in under his wheelchair and pulled out a photo album.
This is though.
He held it up. Who wants to see Philly photos? Celestia and Luna both froze in place as Applejack, Rainbow Dash, Pinkie Pie, Rarity, Fluttershy, and Twilight Sparkle all gathered around him.
Let me see! Let me see!
Dash down. What's a moving picture? She scratched her head, right behind her mane. How can a picture move? Megan shook her head.
Laney, I can't believe this.
She shrugged off her backpack and pulled out her own photo album. I thought I was the only one to bring old photos from Train Valley, she said, a devilish grin on her face. Celestia swallowed. She looked around before spotting Mike, Danny, and Michelle.
Megan, your husband and children,
she said, tapping a foreleg at Dixon.
Surely they want to see you.
Megan looked up over to the three and walked up. She placed the foam album on her back in the backpack before wrapping her arms around Mike for a hug and kiss.
God, I'm so glad to see you three,
she murmured. Mike let go and then leaned back, tracing a finger down her cheek at the still dry tears there. You all right? Megan swallowed on.
I wasn't, but now I am.
She held her hand to her heart.
I got to say goodbye.
She hugged him once again with one arm, before letting go, looking at Daniel and Michelle. She frowned slightly at Danielle's disheveled appearance. "Get into some trouble?" Daniel sighed. "Oh, yeah. I climbed a tree, fell down to a trampoline, and got covered in tree sap." She turned around and waved at Scootaloo and Sleebell, who were standing by Spike. "But I made some friends and we had a good time, right, Michelle?" Michelle nodded. "We stayed in the clubhouse for a while and had some snacks and flew a kite, although that was before the tree climbing," a giggle escaped her. "I think Sleebell might be going for our hairbrush at Kitty Mark now." Megan smiled and waved at Scootaloo and Sleebell, who waved back. She picked her backpack up and walked over Celestia and Luna. She piloted out of the sky over the Everfree forest, and a large cloud of smoke hanging overhead. "Okay, there's a lot more smoke there than this morning. This Dragon King gonna take care of that dragon inside the Everfree forest?" Celestia nodded, a mysterious smile on her face. "Yes, he will." Her horn glowed slowly, flaring to life. "And he approached us." He looked over at the crowd around Danny. "Twilight, do you sense something approaching?" Twilight broke from the group and walked over. "Sense something? Sense what?" She has closed her eyes, and her own horn began to brighten. "Wait. I sense old, powerful magic." Her head swayed about, finally settling on the west. "Yes! It's coming this way!" She looked at Celestia. "Is it Spike the Old?" Celestia dipped her head and nuzzled Twilight's cheek. "Indeed it is. Excellent job." She looked back up and cleared her throat. "Ahem! Everyone, if I could have your attention, please." As everyone focused on Celestia, she began to speak. "Spike the Old will be arriving at the edge of the Everfree Forest to deal with the rogue dragon there. However, I sent a message to Mayor Mare to gather every pony in Ponyville here for the later stages of the party. Is there anyone who would be willing to stay behind to explain where we are and that we'll be back as soon as we can?" Ditsy waved her hoof and waved it. "I will, your majesty!" she yelled. Celestia dipped her head. "Thank you, Ditsy. I am most appreciative of your kind offer." Ditsy gasped. You know my name?" Celestia met her eyes. "Of course. I know all my beloved subjects. And again, thank you." She looked around. "All right. A short walk to the Everfree. Everyone else set?" Celestia and Luna turned and walked off, Megan and family close to their sides. The princess ponies followed close behind. Twilight trotted over to Spike before turning and catching up with her friends. Rarity walked up to Sleebell and Scootaloo as they stood by. "Coming?" she asked. Sleebell looked at Ditsy, then shook her head. "Sorry, sis, but I want to stay and keep Ditsy company. I don't want her to be lonely." Scootaloo nodded and patted Sleebell on the shoulder. "I don't want my friend to be lonely either." Rarity smiled at her. She held up her forelegs and hugged the two fillies. "That is very generous and kind of you, too." She let go and gave Ditsy a hug as well. "Thank you for staying, Ditsy. You are an excellent friend." Ditsy returned the hug. Think nothing of it, Rarity." She let go and waited till the unicorn trotted off. "Have fun!" Sleebell looked at Scootaloo. "So, can you mark where see your variants?" Scootaloo shook her head. "Nah." She walked up to the table and placed some food on a plate and walked back. "Time for lunch!" A small line of drool dripped from Sleebell's mouth. She ran up to the table for her own plate of food before running back. She took a bite of a daffodil sandwich and drank some fruit juice. It's the spot." She suddenly looked up at Ditsy, who was watching them. "Mrs. Dew, can I get you some food?" Ditsy shook her head. "No, I'm fine." She sat back on her haunches and sighed. I just hope Dinky is all right. She's with Carrot Top right now. It's the first time I wasn't able to tuck her in, sing her a song, or kiss her good night." She glanced at the two fillies munching on their food. "Have you met Dinky?" Scootaloo and Sleebell both shook their heads. She's in her class, but never really talked to her," Scootaloo said, rubbed her chin. "Last time I checked, she doesn't have a cutie mark." Sleebell stood up on her hind legs. "We have a fourth crusader!" she sighed, leaving her forelegs in the hair. She dropped back down on all fours, then back to her haunches. She held out forelegs and twirled her hoofs. "If that's all right with Mrs. Dew, that is." Ditsy reached over and gently stroked Sleebell's mane. "It's all right with Sleebell. I think Dinky could use some new friends." Scootaloo grinned. "Then it's settled. We'll just double-check with Applebloom when we see her. But for now," she jumped up, "the Crusaders have a fourth member!"